Good afternoon. My name is John Perricone, manager of the Small Business Development Initiative here at Queens College, and I'm happy to be here today with Jimmy Liu, owner of Fast Tax Accounting, CPA firm here in Queens, New York. Jimmy has helped us out tremendously this semester with participating in the first ever Small Business Development Internship Program. Thanks for being here again, Jimmy.
Yeah, of course.
So I just want to ask you a couple of questions. Can you maybe go into, you are a CPA, so I would love to get more of an understanding of what made you decide to pursue that career choice, and also in college, what courses and other extracurriculars that you've taken to move yourself along that path.
I mean, I think we all started with our fathers forcing us to do what he wanted us to do. So at 16, it was decided for me I was going to be an accountant. I knew I was good with numbers. So, I mean, it's a stable job. I went to SUNY Albany. It was a great career at SUNY Albany. All the Big Four recruited at SUNY Albany. So, you know, going to school, I knew that, you know, I was going to be an accountant. I think the things that I pledged for Beta Alpha Psi, the accounting fraternity, did a lot of small internships. I would say internships are the most important thing for any accounting student or pursuing this path, for sure.
Great. No, that's a wonderful segue into our discussion today, because the SBDI is working very hard to ensure that there are internship opportunities for students at Queens College. We do have a very large accounting department here at Queens, so any opportunity that we can get with local accounting firms would be great for students and their small businesses as well. So after you got out of college, did you decide to open up your own firm, did you work?
No. So I interned at Ernst & Young, one of the Big Fours. So, you know, I did well there that they hired me as an intern. So I had a full-time job before I graduated school. So after school, I didn't even take the summer off, and I just started Ernst & Young 3 weeks after I graduated. Unfortunately, I wish I had taken that summer. Now looking back, but yeah.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about when you decided it was the right time for you to go into business for yourself and to open up your own firm?
Man, that's a long story. I mean, for myself personally, starting when I was around 25, that's when I thought about entrepreneurship, and I did various things. I opened an English as a second language school out in China, so I lived out in China for 3 years. Did a few small food startups around here in New York City, and ultimately I just went back to work for another large firm, BDO, and then I thought, like, why not use the entrepreneurial skills that I gained from the small businesses that I've done, and with the skill set that I already have and the license that I already have, and just do what I know and open my own firm. So I probably didn't open my own firm until I was 32. Yeah.
So would you mind me asking, how long have you been in business?
About 8 years.
8 years, okay. And so, of course, here at the SBDI, the focus for us is to ensure that our students in any major are getting the experience needed to be successful when they do graduate and move on to their career. What would you say specifically for accounting students would be the skills that a CPA would look for when it comes to hiring a student out of school?
I mean, I think one of the hardest things about this field is how wide it is, and of course it's as deep as it is wide. So I think as a student, the reason why internships are more important than anything else is because, I mean, yeah, you're going to learn a lot through your professors, but applying it day to day at work is very different from the textbook knowledge that you gain here at Queens College. So wide being, for instance, like audit is a huge, assurance audit is a huge area to get into. Taxation obviously is another. There's consulting and advisory with those skill sets. So like, where do you really start as a student? I mean, if you hadn't done anything, for instance, if you're interning with us, which thanks to your program, we have an intern, you would have at least dabbled into tax or something, or audit. We do both at our firm, but primarily tax. So if you've done tax during your internship, you can at least eliminate, like, okay, this is what I like or this is what I don't like. Maybe I could try something else like audit. But accounting is very, very wide. So where do you start? I mean, those paths are very different, whether you go to one or the other. And oftentimes, especially if you get accepted to the larger firms, you're kind of pigeonholed into that expertise. Because for you to, for instance, do tax for 5 years like I did at the Big Four, to switch over to audit, you're really starting all over again. Whereas 5 years, you're practically making manager, if not manager, to start all over at staff level, I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow. So that's what I mean. You're kind of pigeonholed into that path. So as a student, how do you know which one to choose? I mean, I didn't like the audit courses at SUNY Albany, and I loved the tax courses. But when I started work, it was vice versa. But how would you have known that without hands-on experience on the field? So that's why internships, I think, are critical.
Great. No, and that was going to move into my next question. So you've touched on the importance of internships, especially in accounting, to try to understand what would be the best path or type of work you would want to move into.
Yeah.
In addition to that, can you speak on the other positives of what an internship would bring to a student who needs to hone those skills, and even like the soft skills as well, right? When they do transition into an office, into the real world, it's not the same as what you're learning in the classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the professionalism that you have to have, and unfortunately nowadays post-COVID, a lot of opportunities are offered remotely, and you really don't get that hands-on experience. So I would definitely recommend students to get into the office if you can, especially early on in your career. That way, managers, partners, whomever you work with, if they see you available, there'll be more work given to you, and that may sound like not something you would want. Like, why do I want to work more? But if you're early in your career, you really want to soak up as much as you can from the people above, your managers, your seniors, or whatnot, and really figure out. Obviously, you need to work well, but figure out what it is that you want to do long term. I mean, hopefully, knock on wood, you have a long career, 50 plus years. I would take the first 5-10 years to really figure out what it is that interests you in this field, or if accounting even suits you to begin with. So, I mean, I didn't like it at all in my 20s, and look at me now. I started my own practice, and I love what I do. So
great. No, that's great, and really great advice as well. So, we're trying to show the students that there is room for them to grow. Obviously, you don't need to know specifically what it is that you're going to be, what the plan looks like coming out of school, but there is more than enough opportunities while you're a student to network, hopefully, and move into an internship and get your hands dirty and see what works best for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Okay, so we are, the Small Business Development Initiative, of course. The internship program is one of the main components of that initiative, but we're also here to develop relationships with small businesses, and I understand the challenges that small businesses face, the significant number of small businesses that make up the local economy. So as a business owner, can you speak on briefly what challenges you feel are the most challenging for you? And another thing would be like, what positives can you say owning and operating your own small business has brought to you?
I mean, for me personally, I was ready for my own practice. I mean, I had done, like I said, other ventures prior, so I knew what it took to be an entrepreneur when I started my own practice. So, I want to say for myself it was pretty seamless, but I would say for any new entrepreneur, I mean, really the courage to begin and continue, the resilience to continue, the self-discipline, all those things. It's really, finding those things deep within yourself. And if you can draw those things, I think it would be seamless to anyone else. I think those may come hard for certain individuals, especially if you're used to, the corporate world or any job. It doesn't have to be corporate, but a job. I mean, there's structure at a job. When you're an entrepreneur, you create that structure, but you have to create it. So before creating it, there is no structure, and it's really the ability to do that for yourself and for those that follow, that join your firm, later on. So I would say that would be the hardest thing. Sorry, what was the other?
And the last one would be what positives from owning a small business can you say, like the most rewarding part of it?
There's a lot.
There's so many.
There's so many. But if I had to choose one, I would say, the flexibility of your life. I mean, I have a family, a daughter now, and and I had the opportunity to join you on this podcast. But being my own boss, essentially, I was able to call the shots and say I can come here, whenever. So really, just the flexibility of your life, especially later on in your career, where most of us are starting a family. And to be able to be there when you want to, that is the most rewarding.
Great.
Amongst a lot of other things, but yeah.
That's a great answer, and of course the flexibility is there. Definitely a lot of hard work goes into that as well to get to that point.
For sure.
Many positives when it comes to taking the path of entrepreneurship, and yeah, it's just a very fulfilling path. I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to speaking with us today and giving us really great information about your small business. Great information to our students, and hopefully after listening to this, they can. It'll be a little easier for them to carve their own path when it comes to whatever they're looking to do. So for the Small Business Development Initiative, my name is John Perricone. Thank you to Jimmy again, and
Thanks.